I want us to start a bit early today because we have some few concepts that I want us to cover quickly, and then guys can go back to doing their lab work. I see people haven't submitted. Everyone hasn't submitted. It's good to have time for that, as well as do your own research in other things. So today I think we've covered syntax analysis for a while now. So I'm thinking today is the last day we are going to cover syntax analysis by delving deeper into LL1 parsing. Okay. Remember your assignment is based on the other side, LR and bottom up and the rest. Okay. So you'll find some similarities here and there when you do that assignment later on. But then I'm going to finalize on syntax analysis today. Then maybe next week we can just look a bit of parser implementation, how it's done, be in terms of the languages, just in passing, and then semantic analysis. Then we'll move on to talk about intermediate code representation, maybe the following week. Then code generation and optimization, and then finally the final class we talk about errors. Okay. My goal is to make sure that we are done by 8th of December. Okay. So we probably have like 4 more classes to go, right? 4 more weeks or more. If there are more, then we can always add more content. But then I'm working with that deadline so that at least you can have time to revise. And I'm also told that maybe the exam will be next year. I'm yet to confirm, but if that is the case, you can make sure that before we go for Christmas, coursework marks is already uploaded and you know what you need in the exam come next year, if that is the case. However, don't quote me on that. You'll have to go and confirm. I'm not sure. If you're in class and you can hear me, maybe you can confirm if you've heard of that, or maybe you can go and double check. Just say something. Also, repeat CAT. In case you submitted your CAT and you don't have your marks, just send me an email attaching the CAT that you submitted. Okay. Also include your name and student ID. Okay. But if you never submitted, don't try something fishy. Submitting so that I can allocate you marks. I'll be able to double check and see whether you did submit. If you never did, it will be good to mark you and know that you're a bit serious. Anyway, so I hope you're in class and you can hear me. So I want us to continue with this concept of syntax analysis here. Yeah. I don't know how many of you have been going through whatever we've been doing in terms of derivation and seen this thing about look ahead. Okay. So if you remember, when you are looking at a certain derivation, for instance, this one, right? So for instance, we had these rules and then we were trying to derive similar to what we had before, something like x minus 2, maybe something like y, right? That's y, right? If you notice, us as human beings, as you are trying to do the derivation, as you are trying to come up with a pass tree, right? We were not picking the wrong production. The reason why we were not picking the wrong production is because in the back of our mind, even though we did not know it, right, we were picking a production that meets these items, right? So there is no way we were picking a production that has a plus. Okay, so that is an example of a look ahead, right? It's like you are anticipating what is going to happen next. However, for a machine, it's not able to do that. Okay, so predictive parsing, I remember I introduced that when I was starting, right? Is somehow meant to offer that facility so that you don't have to keep on backtracking. This element of backtracking, especially with top-down parsers, right? You don't have to keep on backtracking. I've given a bit of theory there that I think is necessary for us to go and read a bit deeper in case you need to. Okay. However, one thing that you realize is, okay, there are certain ways that this idea of look ahead is implemented. Okay, and one of them, okay, the predictive parsing that I'm talking about is one where you don't have to use this recursive definition. Okay? Because I know as of now we've seen the element of recursive definition where there are multiple rules that are recursively defining different elements that are mutually connected to one another. Right? I'll show you an example. But then what I want us to look at is one that is predictive in nature. However, it doesn't use that element of recursively defined. And more specifically, we are going to look at going down. Okay, let me good. So yes, so that is what you're going to cover. Anyway, so if you have to look at predictive parsing, right, and I want us to start with this one, the one that I'm talking about, recursive descent parsing, before I go on to LL1, we just highlight the difference between two, right? You'll see that for us before, when we were talking about top-down parsing, okay, one of the problems we found with this was this element of LR, right, left recursion, right, where you found like we had defined something like E, and then the rules had also defined with another E, and because of that, you had an infinite loop, okay, that formed where you kept on having something like this, T plus T, all that. And the solution, one of the solutions that we had was to introduce right recursive expressive grammar, right? Where if you were to look at it, right, we were defining certain items and terminals, and then we put them on the right, right? We'll do that. Also, this led us to this specific grammar. I remember I did highlight it before, to 6 mutually exclusive recursive routines, okay? In the sense that you had the rule that defined a goal, okay? Then you had another one that defined an expression, and then this expression was also defined by another expression triangle. Okay? So you can see there is a form of a recursive definition of an item, all the way until the end. Okay? That's helped us, or that will help the parser to not pick the wrong production, right? In the sense that if you defined a certain item, right, it was going to build up onto each other when you went to the next rule, the next routine, right? So that is one way of having a predictive parser, where you find that you are defining the rules to be in such a way that they are mutually recursive routines, Now that is not what I want us to cover in this stage, because that one is easy. What I want us to cover is one that does not use that. Okay, so a non-recursive predictive parser. Sorry, I don't know whether I'm losing my voice. Okay? And in this case, we are going to cover what we call LL1 parser. Okay, and I remember I mentioned some of the main items that you need when you're coming up with this, right? And we mentioned that you'll need an input buffer, Okay, we'll need an input buffer. We'll also need a stack, okay, where we're also going to enter our values like a directory there. But also another item that we need is the parser itself, the algorithm. And then after that, we also need a parsing table. So using this parsing table, we are going to know which production to choose, because that is the question that is in the back of our mind in this case. Right? So we have multiple productions of a certain grammar, right? We need to know which one are we going to choose. So this table over here is going to assist us choose that. So if you're able to come up with a table, okay, you've somehow already understood how LL1 parser is going to work, because you've already come up with a method of prioritizing certain productions or choosing certain productions over others. And I'll just preempt something here, and I'll show you an example. For instance, consider this, right? Consider this grammar, which is very common in compiler construction. If you are doing this course, you'll never miss this grammar over here that is defined this way, right? If you can look, you can see that this one is a short form of something that you've already seen before. So this is an expression. An expression is defined as a term. Okay, it's just what we've covered up here, but now in short form, right? So using this grammar, we're able to come up with this parsing table over here. And the question is, how are we going to come up with this where we have only the rules and nothing else? Okay? And the answer to that is we need two very important items that I mentioned before. We actually call them functions. We need first, an item called first. It will appear that way, okay, the name first, and then with two braces. And then we need another item also called follow, another function called follow. Okay? Now, first is the first terminal that will appear in a string, in any string, whenever you do any derivation of a certain grammar. I'll expand more and give examples. Okay. So for instance, let's say we have a grammar that is defined as S, okay, giving something like A. The first one is a terminal, a small a, and then capital A, and then B, and then C, and then D. Obviously, the rest are now defined. Maybe A is also defined down here by another rule, maybe it's D, and also now capital B. I'll go into a better space. Let me just finalize defining it, and C all the way to the end. Okay. So the first for this grammar is this small a, because any string that you derive from this grammar, okay, this grammar will always start with this small a. It's a terminal. It always starts with that. Right? First for this grammar is a. It's that simple. It's the terminal that will appear. Also, you may be asked for the first case, okay, asking, when you derive, when you do the process of derivation, what is the first terminal that is going to appear out of this variable? And the first terminal that appears in this case based on this graph is b. So the first of a is small b. Okay, so that way, all the way to the end. On the other hand, a follow, okay, is a terminal that comes after a variable. Okay, so for instance, let's say we have this s, and it's defined as a, b, c, d all the way to the end, that way, right? So the follow of, let me even choose an arbitrary variable in this case. The follow of this variable b, okay, is right the first terminal that comes after b. So in that case, the follow of b is actually the first of c. But then I'll show examples so that we can get it better. Okay, so I hope using that broad definition over there, you're somehow starting to get the idea of what this first function is and the follow function is. Okay, so first, okay, that first terminal that appears during the process of derivation, right? It will and right, okay, is the terminal that will follow a certain variable. Okay. Anyway, let me go to the whiteboard and then we can expand on this issue about first and follow. First and follow. If you're just joining us, we are looking at predictive parsing, and to be more specific, non-recursive predictive parsing. Okay. I hope you can see my whiteboard. If you can, acknowledge. I'm going to start with a simple grammar here, and I think I'm going to type it easier. So let's say we have S, okay, that is in this case defined as, right? It's defined by small a and then A, B, C, D, right? A on the other hand is then given by a small b, small b there, and then we have B. We can also define it now with a small c, and then we have capital C, which is then given by small d. Then we have capital D over there, which is a variable, and then we have something like E. Okay? So going by the definition that I just gave of what's first and follow, if it was to ask you for the first of S in this case, the first of S. What is the first of S in this case? Which will represent using those curly braces. I don't know if I can be able to represent using curly braces. Get curly braces that way. Okay? Perfect. So the first of S, which is actually the first of this grammar, is small a. Okay? What is the first of A in this case now? The first of this A. Another curly braces. What is the first of A? Good. It's B. I am moving on quickly. What is the first of B? What is the first of B? Good. C. Writing this with me. The more you write, the better you become. Then what is the first of C? The first of C is what? Perfect. I think you can see the trend, right? It's small d. It's terminals. We are just looking at terminals. Then the first of D in this case is E. Okay? So now that one is very simple. Okay? But then let me complicate things a little bit. What if I was this A? And now I say, okay, my grammar now is defined as S, okay, small capital A, B, C, D, and then the rest just follows the same way. A is given by B, then B is given by B, then C is given by a small d over there, okay, and then D is given by E. Now, if I change this way, what is the first of S? Okay, remember we are talking about terminals. I see some of you had already found the answer, but then they suspected. Yes, so the first of S is not this one, because this A is an non-terminal. It's a non-terminal. It's a variable. So the first of S will be whatever A is going to derive. So what is A deriving? It's deriving B. Okay, so because this is a terminal, I keep on repeating terminal, a small b. So S, the start, okay, the first of S is actually small b. Okay? Then the rest is just the same as earlier. Let me complicate it even further and find a different item here. Allow me to use this one. I don't want to keep on writing and then rubbing. So we have B, but then we also define A using another production. So A can either be small b or epsilon. This is an empty string. So let me ask you, what is the first of A? So the first of A in this case, okay, is not only B, okay, but also epsilon, because in some cases you may choose a different production that is not B, which is epsilon. Okay. Now, if I was to ask you in this case, what is the first of S? What is the first of S? Remember, first of S will have two options. Okay? I know the first one you already know. It will be B when you've chosen the first production. However, when A chooses the production of epsilon, what is the first of S? I'll put a comma here. Let me see how many are going to figure this one out. If the first of A in this case is an empty string, what is going to be the first of S? I see a bit of a silence. Perfect. So what that means is when you have epsilon, A becomes epsilon. It's an empty string. What that means is A will be cancelled. And it no longer exists because it's an empty string. I hope you can see that in the back of your mind, right? You're looking at it as something that we are using here. It's like an entry we are having. So when it was S was deriving A, and then after A was deriving small b. It was deriving small b, right? That's why we were choosing the first of S as B. But in this case, this A is not deriving B. In this case, it's deriving an epsilon. And an epsilon is an empty string. So what that means is you're going to cancel. So in that case, what that means is when Sorry for that. Let me just quickly switch to another network. I don't know why network nowadays have been having a lot of issues, but maybe it's because of the rains. You never know. We live in a funny country. Anyway. So,
welcome again to my channel, LR Xiong.
We had defined a grammar first, and we had S was given by this. Let me just repeat everything. So first we had this, and then A, B, C, D, right? And then A was now given by something. B was given by something like C. Then capital C was given by something like small c. And then capital D, another non-terminal, was given by E, right? So it was very easy for the first one. Getting the first of S in this case was just A, right? But then we graduated further and we said, okay, our grammar now does not start with a terminal. It starts with a non-terminal in this case. Okay? And these non-terminals are then defined further down here. Okay? So the first of S, okay? Because you have to look at this thing as a string, sorry, as a passing tree. So we are going to start with the first symbol up here, and this one is going to derive this. This is where I was leading up to, so that you can be able to see this thing clear. It's giving A, B, C, and D. But then one thing you have to notice is that these are not the terminals. This is not the end. These things are going to be derived further, right? There'll be a further derivation over here. So for this one, it's going to give B. Okay? For this one, it's going to give C. Then this one is going to give D. E. So when I ask the first of S of the starting symbol, which is also the first of this grammar, right? I'm asking for the first terminal that appears in any of the strings that is derived. And in this case, it's B. Right? But then we went even further and asked, what if this A now has a different production, which has epsilon? Epsilon means an empty string. By having epsilon, it means that these items, when you choose the second production, okay, you'll have an epsilon here, which means you'll have an empty string. So when you're getting the first of S, this one will be cancelled because this one is leading up to something empty. It's leading to nothing here, right? An empty string, there's nothing there. So that's the reason why you're going to choose the second variable and then do the derivation to get C. So that's the reason why the first of S in this case, after this one, chooses an epsilon, is going to be C. Make sense? Make sense? I want to hear people say yes or no. Repeat again.
He replied, I guess so, but there's no reason to end it so soon. We passed the point of no return.
Now let's go to the next item, right? Follow. But then remember, I'll do many examples. Actually, I'll do a couple, like 2 or 3 more. That is what we are going to spend doing today before we are able to come up with a passing table, because we need to understand these concepts of fast and follow so that we are able to come up with a passing table. If we are able to come up with this fast and follow and we are good at it, coming up with a passing table will not take us more than 5 minutes, and then we can call it a day, because those will be several concepts that I think need time for you to digest. Anyway, I don't know where my mouse is going to. Okay, it's here. Good. So that was fast, right? We need to go to follow. We need to go to follow. We need to go to follow. Okay? So follow will be that terminal that will follow a certain variable. However, when we are talking about follow, the function called follow, there are two exemptions that we are going to find. Okay, and I'm going to mention them. I'm going to mention them as I show you how to come up with follow. Now, the first one is the follow for the starting symbol will always be a dollar sign. Will always be a dollar sign. If you can look back at the notes which I already attached last week, right, and they're already there, you'll find that at the bottom of the stack, okay, this database of ours or directory that is going to be holding these items of ours that we are passing, there is always a dollar sign. Also, in the input buffer, whenever you have a certain input, an input is that string that you use, maybe something like A, B, C, D. The item that shows you that you come to the end of that string is a dollar sign. Okay? So now remember, S, this starting symbol, defines these entire items. So A, B, C, D together, okay, have been like compressed to S. Okay, so that's the reason why we are saying that the follow of S is this dollar sign, because it's at the end. So that is the first exemption. The other exemption, I'll mention it towards the end. But anyway, so in this case, let's start with this one, the one that we have. So S, let me just define this grammar again. A, B, C, and D. In case you have a question, just allow me to finalize this concept and then I'll allow you to say something. Right? And then the same way, so A leads up to something like B. I can even use the epsilon. I don't mind. And B, C is leading out to this. D, this one is leading out to E. Right? So when I ask, what is the follow? What is the follow? We've already seen that the follow of S, in this case, let me just use the carry braces now. I don't know who is going to assist me to do carry braces. Using a mouse is a bit of a problem. It's a dollar sign, right? We've already shown that. It's a dollar sign. Okay. So, what is the follow of A in this case? The follow of A, right, will be the terminal that will follow this variable. This variable here. So A, what terminal will follow this A? Okay, and it's actually going to be the first of these other variables, B, C, D. And to be more specific, the follow of A will be the first of B. I hope that makes sense in a way. Okay? So what that means is the follow of A will be what? The follow of A will be what? It will be the first terminal that is going to be derived by B. And what is that? If you can hear me, what do you think that is? Perfect. Perfect. So the follow of A is C. Good. Now let's continue. What is the follow of B? Forget about the epsilon. Let me cancel the epsilon just for a second. Let's continue that. What is the follow of B? In this case, the follow of B is the first of C. What is the first of C? The first of C is D. That's the reason why the follow in this case will be that. Okay? Then, what is the follow of C? The follow of C will be the first of D. What is the first of D? It's E. I heard this later on. Right then, outside, on top of the wall. Now, a question here, and this is where we are going to find the other exemption that I'm going to mention. Okay? What is the follow of B in this case? I want to hear, and I know it's very logical for the answer that you're going to give. Perfect. I wanted some people to say dollar. Another one, what do you think? Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Take a shot, you never know. It should be right or wrong. Okay, so Stephen, Wanjiku, and Vivian Moai have been courageous and they've said it's dollar, right? So yes, in some cases it's dollar, but that is not always the case. Actually, in most cases you'll find that when you come to the end of this final variable, it's not always dollar. Okay? And the reason is, right? The reason is during the process of derivation, you'll find that whatever is here is going to be replaced by something else. something else. And this is why I'm saying that the second exemption during this item of follow will come in. And we'll say this, that the follow of this final variable, okay, will be the follow of the left-hand side. I repeat. So the follow, this is a second, the follow of
Then Maki managed to punch the
last
Unchained without being punched back. And he
variable
followed up with a barrage of punches. Head on. The son of Ogre has no fear. Just head
will
on.
be the
He then
follow
got punched in the face, but he is still thinking.
of
No retreat.
left-hand
Face him down.
side.
Till he falls
In this
back.
case, what is the left-hand side?
To the walls.
S.
Beyond the walls.
S. And let me expound a bit, because I know even
We
using
all
that
took
logic,
off
you're
our
still going to
hats.
say that the follow of S
They
is still
do
dollars,
exist,
it's
don't
supposed to be dollar.
Men
Okay?
like that.
Let's take an instance
They
here.
happen,
Let me show you
don't they?
something.
Fights
This is
like
the reason
that.
why I'm giving this example.
Sublime.
Okay? Let's assume somewhere that our grammar, a certain grammar, an arbitrary grammar out there, is defined by something like A leading up to another non-terminus, BC. BC. So those is part of the rule. So there's a place where the grammar defines A is given by BC. But then during our process of derivation, we come across a point where we have A,
Then suddenly, the Unchained
and
screamed.
then a small a,
And he managed
B,
to punch Baki in
C,
the
and
face
then
with
finally
all
the
his
dollar
strength.
sign, because the dollar sign is
However,
representing the end of that
Hambabaki
input.
is still holding on to
Right?
him.
So
He strengthened his core with the
look at
energies
this.
he got
At
left.
some point, we'll have to
And
replace
he
this A.
managed to land a
And what are we
devastating
going to replace
headbutt to
this
the
A with?
Unchained's face,
This A with.
destroying the wall behind Biscuit Oliva.
You're going to replace it with
But
these
Baki
rules over
is
here,
still
which
not
is
finished.
BC.
He quickly
So we are going
winds
to
up
replace
to
this
prepare
A
another
so that we
strong
can
punch.
have BC,
However, Hambabaki only
small
managed
a,
to punch the wall
small
to
B,
prison
small c.
because the
So
great
this is the
Biscuit
reason why
Oliva
you'll
is
see that
already knocked
the
down.
follow of this
When
final
Baki
variable,
falls outside the prison,
C, is
the
actually
officer
the
then
follow of
thinks
this A.
it was a solemn
Okay?
scene.
Because during the process
Because
of
when Baki
derivation,
opened his eyes
you
and
may
raised
come up
his head,
to a point where
no
you'll
one
have
was
to
in
replace
front of him
whatever is
anymore.
on the left hand side with whatever
He
is
is
on the right
quite
hand side.
surprised that
Okay?
he is
So using
outside the
that
prison.
definition
He
there,
went in front of
okay,
Oliva
you
to
are
see his
you are
condition.
you are you are
The
you
guard
come to
then
this
shouted,
exemption, the one that I'm
"Contact the
mentioning, that in
infirmary.
some cases
Hurry." Yes,
the
sir.
follow of the final
All
variable
of a
is not
sudden,
necessarily dollar
Oliva
sign.
opened his
Okay?
eyes, and he
Okay?
tried to
In
get
most
up.
cases, actually,
But
it will
the
always be the
Unchained can't
follow of
believe
the
what
left
he
hand
is
side.
seeing,
Okay? And
because
we'll
his
see that
lover
using
Maria
examples,
is
several
standing
examples
right
as
in
we are able
front of him.
to come up with them.
They are all surprised,
Okay.
thinking,
So what that means is
Maria,
the follow
did
of
you walk here?
D will be what?
Maria then
Okay?
said,
Now in this
"You
instance,
lost to
it's a
that
dollar
boy,
sign.
huh?"
In this instance, it's a dollar
Yes,
sign. I agree with
unhappily
you.
answered
But
by
I'm
the
saying
Unchained.
there are some instances
Let's
that you'll
go
find that
back.
during
Hey,
the definition of
but
a certain grammar, right?
summing
You'll
this
find that
part,
there's a point where the
best I
final
can do,
variable,
take me back,
here,
or do you
right,
want the boy
will be
to
given
carry
as the
me?
follow.
Oliva then looked at Baki. No
Yeah.
way, dude.
Yep.
Gestured by
Yep.
Baki.
Any
Of
question?
course not.
Any
I
question?
won't give that right to anyone over my dead body.
I know there are so many
He then
questions.
lifts Maria then
People
said,
keep getting
"Call the director.
kicked out of
I
class
have
and
something to
coming
tell
back.
to all the
Huh?
prisoners." Later that
Okay,
day,
so I see
all
one
the
question by
prisoners have
Ian.
been
So
summoned.
in the example
The
on the
Unchained
right,
then said,
what is the
"Listen well,
follow of?
gentlemen.
See,
I'm
now this
sure
one is an
the
arbitrary
rumors have
example that I
already
said,
reached
but
your
yes,
ears.
the follow of
It's
C
true.
now in this
I
case is
fought
A.
with Baki
So in this
Hanma,
case, it's
and
A.
I
So in this
lost.
arbitrary example I'm giving
Therefore,
here, Ian.
I am no
Okay?
longer the strongest, and
But the
number
reason
one
why
on the
I needed to
Arizona
show you that
State
example is so that I can
penitentiaries.
show you that it's not
However,
always
there's no
necessarily a
way
dollar
in
sign
hell
at
I
the
will
end.
allow this
Right?
anyway.
In some
So
cases,
then,
because of the
what should
definition
I
of the
do?
grammar, we
That's
have to
an easy
highlight that
one.
exemption that the
How
follow
about
of
I'll
this
make
final
it
variable will be
disappear
the
and
follow of
nobody
the
will
left-hand
see it
side.
again?
Okay? And the follow of the
Director,
left-hand side in
please
this
take
case is
care
this
of it.
A.
From this
This
day
A.
on, I
I hope that is
declare,
okay, Ian.
Baki Hanma is released today from the fortress. The director is surprised,
Perfect.
saying,
Perfect. I would like to give you an
"You mean
example
today?
that you can try on
Don't
your
you
own
think that's a
before I
little?
give more
You
examples.
can do that bullshit
Is that okay?
bureaucratic paperwork later." Well, yes, but
Just
or
take a
would you
minute.
rather have 4,000
If you have a
prisoners
question that
fighting and
you'd like to
escaping at
ask
the same
as
time?
I saw some
Baki then
examples
thinks,
and see whether
"That
we
was
can be able to
amazing.
come up with them.
It's really surprising how easily I got out of the prison. All the things I asked for were water, food, and a bicycle, and some cash. In return, Mr. Biscuit Oliva, the Unchained, asked for just
So
one
the rules of
condition:
the grammar will
that
actually
he can watch me
define
get into
when
the
it's an
airport.
exemption or not,
And
Julie.
he followed
Okay?
me on a
It
helicopter.
will show you. Actually, as we do the examples, it will become more clearer.
This
Okay?
is the end of
So
the great
just
prison
allow us to
battle
do more
saga.
examples and then you'll see what I
What do you
mean.
think of
You'll
this
see what I
one?
mean.
Do you think it is better than the
Let me
great
just
fight I
source one
turned the dark?
example over here.
Comment down your opinion below. Special thanks to Juan, the
This
Broken
will
Monarch,
be
Stranger Dragons Prevail,
perfect. Again,
Xander
okay.
Claus, Sam Shires, Lamonta Denson, Aaron Wheeland, Valente Jr. Villegas, Jesseas, James Berry, Evan Edrock, Vel, Caleb,
Yeah.
Primitive Pickle, and Sean for helping our channel
So
by being a
can I
patron.
clear this? No, I
We
don't want to
really
clear this because
appreciate
I
your
want you
help.
to look at it as an
If
example.
you want to support my channel,
So let's have this. So let's have one that is S. Because I'm not able to show the arrow, I'll use a question mark just to highlight what is defined there. And I'll have this as A, and then B, C, D, E. And then I'll define A, a small A, and then epsilon. Epsilon. Let me use that, but then I'll use something better next time. Then B will be, because of the sake of time, small b, and then also epsilon. So when you're using, don't put EP, use epsilon. But then I'll do this example together with you once you've tried it. And then we'll see how it goes. See, then we'll have D being defined by that
let's find out.
slash epsilon.
But first,
And then we'll have E here being defined by E. So first thing first, try and tell me what the first of S is. Okay? Try and derive on your book. I'll give you 5 minutes. I know it's a bit complicated. I know. So in case you find you're having some trouble, don't worry. I'll be able to do it from first all the way from the first to the end. So try and come up with the first and follow for this grammar here. I'll give you 5 minutes. In case you don't have the answer, don't worry. I'll be able to show you how you're going to come up with that. Okay? But then I'll give you a hint. Anyway, just do your thing.
The chapter starts inside a museum.
I had seen a hand earlier. Somebody had raised their hand. I don't know what happened. Probably I answered the question during the process of explaining what follow was. But if you still find there is something that is not clear, don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to ask. So let's do fast alone. Don't even do the follow. Just do fast for this entire grammar. So what you'll do, you'll have a fast for this, you'll have a fast for this, you'll have a fast for this, you'll have a fast for this. That's all to the end. Now the hint that I was supposed to give you was fast. Initially, get the fast for this one down here, because using this one is going to guide you on how to come up with the fast for S. Because what you're going to find is, even though these ones they are direct, for this one you'll have to do a bit of derivation based on this to come up with the fast S.
Sorry about that.
Huh?
Let's talk about something else.
Actually, we reduced our time to around 3 minutes. So 2 more minutes and then I'll do it together. And for the sake of time, allow me to be deleting this one here because I need a full space to be able to come up with it. And I want to order my work very nicely. So continue doing what you're doing as I come up with something here that I'm going to use.
How about this one? He would not escape harmless fighting this one.
Okay, I'm going to have that. Then I'm going to split this into this. I'm going to just use it. This is the best way to come up with fast and follow. Just come up with a nice table that is going to represent everything. That way, that way.
Sorry,
and then here we can have the grammar itself. But here we can have S being given by A, B, C, D, and E. And then we'll have A being given by A and an epsilon. Then we'll have B being given by a small b and epsilon. Then we'll have C being given by a small c. That's a terminal. So these are non-terminal, these are terminal, okay? Maybe I can use that. These are capital. Then we have D over here. Then it's given by small d and an epsilon. Then finally we have E giving us a small e and an epsilon. Perfect. To make our work even easier so that those who are seeing can see, I'll do that.
We now move on to America.
Do that.
In the present day, somewhere in the remote part of Colorado, a complete quadrant is isolated and declared a quarantine zone at 701 meters underground.
Good. So up here I'll have, this will be my first. Okay, so this will be first.
Formed around 9,000 million years ago.
I know, I'm trying to write with the mouse and the sun. Then follow.
The reality that was in front of their own eyes. This discovery would change forever the school science books.
Perfect.
The explorers then said,
so
it's a T-Rex, isn't it? Yes.
Can we do it together? Or you still need more time to maybe finalize? Sometimes someone may want to do it on their own before they are able to see how it was done. Just for a sense of self-satisfaction so that you can feel at least you're getting the concept.
It's a monkey. No, it's without a doubt a human being.
Okay.
This
So
is
30 more
unbelievable.
seconds. 30 more
How
seconds.
can a human?
And then we can start
It
with this
looks
one
like
here,
he's attacking the
and then go
T-Rex,
to
though.
follow.
Maybe, maybe not. Considering the size of the T-Rex, I don't think he was attacking it. I would say he was shocked by the explosion of a meteor that landed very close. He took the impact head on. He must have been a very brave hunter. What are we going to do
However,
with
the
this
good thing is that this thing
discovery?
is very
Let's
easy, very,
contact
very,
the
very
main office
easy.
for now. We now move on to a certain laboratory. The T-Rex
Very,
and
very,
the
very
prehistoric
easy.
man has been moved here. The scientist then
Good.
said,
I think I can start.
"Thanks
I
to
can
all of
start.
you for
So
making
what I was
such an
saying is, getting the fast of S will require us to derive the fast of A, and also in some cases the fast of B, also maybe the fast of C, D, all the way to E. So because of that, when you're coming up with the fast of a certain grammar, it's always advisable to first get the fast for these subsequent non-terminals. Okay? So in this case, you can even start at the bottom. So what is the fast of E? Anybody? What is the fast of E? So the fast of E, I hope you're able to get this. The fast of E, my colleague says, was E, comma, epsilon. Right? There we go. Then what is the fast of D? Are we together? I hope we are together. So the fast of D, in this case, is small d and epsilon. Okay. Then what is the fast of C? The fast of C is just one item. You can see it's just one terminal, C, a small one. Good. Then what is the fast of B? The fast of B. The fast of B, okay, is a small b, comma, epsilon. Right? There is an instance where the fast of B will actually be an empty string. Also, the fast of A in this case, check, is also A and an epsilon. There is a case where you'll have an empty string as the fast. Good. So let's go. What is the fast of S? I think these ones are pretty straightforward. So the fast one, allow me just to use that way. Okay? So the fast of S in this case is the terminal of A. What is A deriving? What is the fast of A? The fast of A is a small a. So yes, I can put a small a. However, there's a production that gives the fast of A to be epsilon. So what does that mean? What that means is you're going to cancel A. Okay? Let me just write it here. A, B, C, D, E. So there is an instance where this is A, and that's where we put these as the fast of S. But there is an instance where it's epsilon. So when it's epsilon, it means that the first one is negated and it's eliminated. So in that case, we are going to go to the fast of B. So the fast of B will actually be the fast of S. And what is the fast of B? Everybody, the fast of B is a small b. Okay? But also, the fast of B is a production that is epsilon, which is an empty string. So what that means is we're also going to cancel B. And though we are going to go to the next variable. So the next variable is C. What is the fast of C? What is the fast of C? The fast of C is C. And there you have the entire table that has fast. So the function fast for that grammar is given as that. So for S, the fast of S is A, or B, and C. 3 items, right? 3 terminals. The fast of A is A and an epsilon. And if you have to look at this even logically, even without looking at the math aspect about it, you'll see that it makes sense, right? When there is nothing at the start, you can't consider nothing to be the fast of that item. There has to be. I hope you get that logic, right? That logic is making sense. Good. Now let's do the follow. Let's do the follow. What is the follow of S? So the follow of S we said will always be, in this case, a dollar sign. So the follow of S in this case is quite easy. It's just a dollar sign. Good. What is the follow of A? What is the follow of A? And here I'm going to take my time. I'll wait until you can give me an answer. I'm quite sure you know the fast follow, because the fast follow will be the fast of BCD. What is the fast of B? What is the fast of B? What is the fast of B?
That'll be Alan.
Are we together? Are we together?
The professor is surprised thinking. Absurd.
Perfect, perfect. So the fast of B is actually a small b. Hope you can see that. Okay? Okay? But then there is an instance where, okay, the fast of B is actually an epsilon. So in that case, this B is going to be cancelled when you're getting the follow of A. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to the next variable, which is C. So what is the fast of C? The fast of C is a small c. So in that case, the follow of A the follower of A is not only B, but it's B and C. Okay. What is the follower of B? The follower of B, based on this grammar we have here, let me write it down here again. The follower of B is the first of this variable called C. And the first of variable C is just a small c. So that's the reason why this one will only have C. Now let me ask, do you think there's another option for the follower of B? Anybody? What do you think? The way that we had here previously, we had to. Do you think for this one we'll have to? Perfect. Those who are saying no, why? 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 And if you have courage, this is the time I give you points. Say something. Open your mic and say something. Yes, Julie.
This is because C has only one one first, which is C. So we don't have an
One
epsilon in this.
Yes. That is enough. Rebecca, are you going to say the same thing?
Yeah, I was going to say because it doesn't have an empty string, which is epsilon.
Yep. A point for you as well. That is okay. Okay. So that is good. So here we don't have an empty string. The follow of this one, right? The follow of B is the first one. But C again is not defined by an empty string here, or another production that has an empty string. So let's go to C. The follow of C is what is? Yeah. Okay. And what is the follow of C in this case?
There it seems to be no close predators ready for attack.
Anybody?
This is brighter than the moon. This is more
Anybody?
powerful than stars.
What is the follow of C? Perfect. So the follow of C is actually this small d. I don't know whether you wanted to say something. That's it. Is there another one? Yes, there is E. Okay. Now I'm also not going to close it because I want to introduce another one at the end, and I'll show you why. Okay. Show you why. Now, oh, there was E here. Sorry, I forgot to introduce. Then, what is the follow of D? The follow of D is the first of E. And what is at E? Anybody? Perfect. It's E. But then there's also another item I want to mention towards the end. I want to show you. Yes, a dollar sign. I see already people have already seen that it's a dollar sign. Yes. So even here there'll be a dollar sign for those who were wondering why I was leaving out. And even for Julie who had asked, how do you know when it's an exemption or when it's a dollar sign? So for this case, you can see there is nothing that is coming after this. Okay. And also during your process of derivation, there is nowhere where you're finding that you'll have to recursively define something else. Okay. So that's the reason why in this case, for this instance, right? So the final even here will actually be a dollar sign because E actually here, okay, is actually the end of this entire string. Okay. So that's the reason why it's that way. I don't know if there is a question, or maybe I can repeat something somewhere. But I think things are going well. People are very confident, even the way they are answering and giving answers. Let me give another example so that in case there is a question, we can answer it as we answer that question. Yes, Vivian, ask as I write these other questions.
I wanted to ask why the dollar sign is not on every other, I think, follow.
Okay. A good question. Anybody who feels they can answer that one? Let me give that. Can you activate your ID or something? I didn't get your number, Vivian.
I can. Should I just say it or should I change my name?
I think you'll have to write it down somewhere because it's not there. So remember, everyone, whenever you come to this class, always have your ID so that it can make work easier. Just write it there on the chat and I'll be able to see it. Anybody who wishes to answer that?
I think it's because that.
Yes. Say something.
I think it's because the C. The C doesn't have an epsilon, so which means that since it's not the end of the string, so
yes,
the productions before C won't have a dollar sign at the end.
Yes. In simple terms, I think Vivian, what she was asking why. I think. Can you repeat the question again? I think I've put and lost as I was writing down the number.
Oh, I was asking why there's no dollar sign at the end, because I mean if they're following each other and is the end,
Yes.
then why isn't there a dollar sign at the end of
For
every?
all these others, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Good. Good. Okay. So one thing that you need to understand is this, right? The follow is whatever is the first of the next variable. Whatever is the first of the next variable. Now the reason why, and I know this is where the confusion is coming in, is because you can see there is a dollar sign here. Yet this C is not the end. C is not the end if you have to look at this thing. C, D, E. Don't mix up concepts, right? So you're wondering why there's a dollar sign when we are getting the follow of C, yet C is not at the end like E. The reason is, if you have to look at the definition of D and E, there's an epsilon which is causing us to go to the next variable. Okay? So it's because of this epsilon. The epsilons are the ones that are bringing the dollar sign to the upper side. But the truth of the matter is, the dollar sign should only be at the end here and maybe here. But the reason why it's appearing at this one and this one is because of this epsilon. This epsilon here and this epsilon here. Because as you're doing the derivation, there's a point where this first for the variable D is going to be an empty string. So because of that, you'll have to go to the next one, which is E. Essentially, what this is doing, it's taking this C, okay, and taking it to the end, because this one will become epsilon, so it becomes cancelled. Then this C also will now depend on E. At some point, also E will become epsilon, so it also becomes negated. So because of that, this C will be pushed to the end. Make sense, Vivian? And I hope for
Yes,
anyone who's
it
asking
does.
that, maybe have
Yeah.
that. Get
Yeah, yes, it does.
Perfect. Yes, Rebecca. I don't know whether you have the same question or maybe a comment.
I have a question. So
Yes,
when
ask.
we're doing the follows, can the epsilon
Yes.
be seen like sort of as a placeholder for like the next value for the next, yeah.
If you could see me right now, I'm clapping for you. Yes, that is very true. If you wish to look at it that way, I have no problem whatsoever.
And I have another question. So
Yes,
in that
ask.
case, can there be more than two of them like following each other?
Two
Like you
epsilons.
have, yeah.
No, you can't have two epsilon because I don't know whether you remember the rule somewhere. Somewhere you say an epsilon and an epsilon are just an epsilon. Or empty, two empties are just one empty, right?
Oh,
Even
okay.
mathematically, it doesn't make sense to say something and another nothing. I don't know that it makes sense. Nothing and
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
making
one.
sense.
Right?
Yeah,
Good,
okay, thank
good.
you.
You're welcome. Let me give another example. As we ask more questions, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to ask. This is very important. Let me give another gram over here. This one will be a bit complicated, so bear with me. Or maybe easier. I don't know how you look at it. So let's say this one is B, and then this one has a production, two different production. Let this one be C, this complete. And then let's define B, no B, and have it as a small a, B, and let me have epsilon here. Okay, and then let me have C over here. And then we can have small c, capital C, and then epsilon. Good. So get the first and follow for this, and then I'll show you. Okay. I know there are so many questions popping up. I'll be able to. Yes, if you have a question, ask. There's something you're asking there, Miriam. Okay, I can see you have asked a question. Does that mean if a production uses the last production, it will have as one? Let me get that. If production uses the last production. Okay, so I'm assuming you're saying maybe in this role you've used the last production, right? Does that mean that one of its no, not necessary. It will only be that if, okay, after those subsequent derivations, if I can say so, right? Okay, it's been taken to the last variable or the last item. Let me just repeat this again so that maybe let me do this. Look at this. So for instance, I have A, B, C, D, okay? And what you need to remember is, this is S. So at the end, we have a dollar sign. Sorry, okay? So the only time this dollar sign is appearing as a follow for any of these variables is when you've cancelled maybe the preceding or the after variables so that that variable now is at the end. So for instance, you see it in this case. So let's say this one was an epsilon, it will reduce that one. Also, this one was an epsilon. So that means this B now is like has been shifted to this end. So that's the reason why it will have a dollar sign. Okay, but then not necessarily that it will always be a dollar sign at the end. That's the reason why, again, I repeat, you'll find that there were dollar sign in these two, but there were not dollar sign in these ones. Okay? I don't know whether we have a question or maybe it's a comment. I see your hand is up.
It's a question. In a situation where C had an epsilon, how will we do it?
Yes. Okay, we'll cover that example in a short while. Okay, but yes, what do you think would happen? What if C had an epsilon? What if C now was not only defined by C, but it also has an epsilon? Okay, let's think about that one. Let's think about that one. Anyone else with a question or an answer? Say something. There are so many hands. I think first come, first serve. Just ask or answer.
I have an answer.
Yes.
If C had an epsilon, then
Yes.
The follow for A would be
Yes.
B or C
Okay.
or D
Yes.
or E
Perfect.
or dollar sign.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and then
I don't know whether you see that. Where were you? Where you can see that? Because that was your question.
Yes,
You
yes,
see that?
yes.
You wish to continue further, but I've already given you the point. The person who is answering, I think it's Stacy. It's Stacy, yes.
And in the first part, the A, B, C, the first part,
Which one?
the one, not the follow, the first, that part.
The first here.
Yes,
The first function.
yes.
Okay, so you're wondering which one is going to change. Even that one is going to change because remember, in this case, no, this one is not going to change. This one is the only one that is going to change here. We are going to have C and an epsilon, but then the ones that are going to be highly affected are these ones here. Okay.
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 Thank
These ones right
you.
here. But I want you to take that challenge. Just try it out, and then let me know in case you find some difficulty.
Okay.
But that was good. That was a good question. I see even some people even giving suggestions. Others are even writing answers on the chat. Okay. Okay. Yes. Papa. I think Papa has raised his hand for a while and he hasn't said something.
No, it's actually
Say something so that we give you some points.
okay. Just a clarification what Caesar just asked. You did say that the first won't change, but you see the first of S will probably be affected with the fact that C will have an epsilon.
Oh yes. Write your admission number so that I can give you a point. Yes. So these ones, I meant this one down here. Sorry. Okay. But the first for this one is going to change. Remember, the reason why it ended at C is because C broke that that element of having an empty string. So if there's an empty string here, okay, then the first of S will also proceed to have D and E as well. I hope that is okay.
Yes, it is.
You think also there can be a dollar sign at the first of S? Good question there. Good question there. But yes. Okay, now I see the number of. Good. Allow us to do this one, and then we can have more questions. Maybe this one will make things clearer. Someone is asking for 1 more minute. Okay, 1 more minute, and then we can do the first and follow of this. And then we can do another example, one more, the last one, and then we can shift to coming up with the table. I'm going to use the same method. Allow me to draw the table, and then just continue from there. For those who are already doing it, it's okay. Proceed. I just want to draw the table that will assist me in coming up with this answer. I find it easier to do it this way. That way. Then down here we are going to have S giving us a category that is a variable, then a small b. We're going to have A, B, and then this one is epsilon. Then we are going to have C leading us to small c. variable C, and then epsilon. And then here we're going to have first, and then follow. Okay, good. And then I'm going to draw a line here. So I can differentiate this. I can also differentiate that. Perfect. So as usual, it's advisable to start here. So what is the first of C? The variable C. What is the first of this variable here? I think I found it easier to do this and then just put something here. So the first of C is nothing but a small c, okay, comma epsilon. I hope we are together. And then the first of B is nothing but A. And I think these are the hard part is, what is the first of S? Production, we're using the first production. So when you're using the first production, it's whatever is going to be derived by the variable B, which is a small a. I hope you can hear me. So in this case, this will be A. Can you hear me? My network is gone. Good. Then consider an instance where in this row for B, we choose the second production, which is an epsilon. What that means is this first variable here is going to get cancelled out. So the first of S in this case will be B. Good. I hope you're still together up to there. Then the next one, what if you choose now the second production, which is CD? So what is the first of S? The first of this variable called C. What is the first of variable C? It's a small c. So we're going to put a C. However, the production for C can also have one that is an epsilon. So in that case, it's going to cancel this C, and we are going to have D here. How many have that? How many have that? Okay. Do we need to repeat, or that is okay? Silence will be taken as an answer. It's okay. It's okay. 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 One person is saying repeat. I don't mind repeating. Okay. Let me repeat. Okay. So it's always advisable, like I said, when you're getting the first, okay, to start from the bottom. Okay. Because if you have to look at it, and I hope you're looking at this in a logical way, right? Look at it in terms of a tree. So this tree is going to have B. Okay, and then it's going to have this B. This small b will be like a terminal at the end. And then it's also going to have another non-terminal C, and also it's going to have like another terminal, okay, which is in this case is D, right? So the reason why I'm saying you start from the bottom is because you're going to start with these ones at the end, because they are more towards the end of this tree as compared to the starting symbol up here. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm saying you start down here. So the first of C is this small one. Okay, this terminal C, it's that. Okay, so when you choose the first production, because C has two productions, okay, C has two productions. It has C, and epsilon. So it has two productions. This is the first production, and this is the other production. So for this first production, the first for this one is C, small c, but then the first for this second production is an epsilon. Perfect. Then the first for B also has two productions. It has A, B, where the first is actually a terminal, and then the second production is an epsilon. So when we choose the first production, the first for B is a small a. Okay? And when we choose the second production, the first is an epsilon. Good. Then now we go to S. S is defined as this. There is big, then a small, then there is, the next one is a capital C, right? And then a small d. So this is a variable, but these two are terminals, small letters, right? So when this one, the first for S will be the terminal for B, and the terminal for B in this case, going by the first production is A. So that's the reason why we had A. But then this B can take two options. It can take this AB or a point where it's epsilon. So when it's epsilon, B gets cancelled. And because of that, the first of S now becomes this terminal here. This is already a terminal, so we don't need to do any derivation. That's why we have B there direct. Okay? Then we go to the next one. So we are done with our first production. But see, now for S, we choose now the second production, which is a capital C and a small d, an terminal and a terminal. So when it's C, capital C, C can take two options. It can take either an option where the first is a small c, that's the reason why we have C here, or a point where it's epsilon. Because it's an epsilon, this C gets cancelled out, so we are left with D, and that's what we have. Are we okay up to there? Remember, we are talking about the first variable. Sorry, not the first variable. The first terminal. Okay? We are not talking about multiple of them. Stephen, there's something, Stephen, you're asking over there. Why is it not C's? They cannot be two C's because we are not looking at them, two of them, right? We are looking at the first one. So even for the second term, you see it's still a C, a small c. Okay? So that's why it's only one single C, a small one. Okay? So you can define two of them. I hope that is okay. We are looking at the first one, okay? The first terminal.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, when you're getting the first, you're looking at the first terminal of the production.
Yes.
So why do when you're getting the first for S, why do you start with B, the capital B?
No, these are the rules. These were the rules for the grammar, right? These are grammar that somebody has defined somewhere, right? An example of a grammar, right? And this grammar is defined as the first symbol is defined using these two productions. So we actually coming up with this table based on these rules over here.
Yeah.
Okay? You need to remember that, right? That these are the rules that you are given, and the S is defined by a capital B and a small b, and then another production has a capital C and D. In this case, what that means is these are non-terminal, these are terminal. Okay, that's all the way to the end. Okay, so the reason why we have started with this is because that's what the rules tell us. I'm thinking there probably is somewhere you missed a class somewhere, or probably there's a concept that you missed somewhere because that's how it is. Those are the rules. The rules for this grammar are defined as so. So that's the reason why we are starting with that B. Okay, because that is what the grammar has said. Okay, it's not something that is predefined and set somewhere. I think that is maybe probably where your dilemma is.
Yeah, okay.
Good. I see Stephen has answered himself. That is okay. Just take your time, Anthony. Just look at it, and then let me know. And I didn't have you haven't put your number there on the profile, so change so that you can see it. I don't know whether Miriam has a question or an answer. I see your hand is also up.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Okay, from also what Anthony has said,
yes.
when you're deriving the first, you started at C, but then you said small c and capital C at one production, and the epsilon is a second production.
Yes.
But then when you went to derive S, you said B, capital B and small b are one production, and capital C and small d are the second production.
Yes.
But then you went ahead and said it's like you broke down this capital B to derive something else, and then you are left with B, and then you broke down the capital C, and then you're left with D, but then you didn't do the same for now the others.
I see where the problem is. There are several things that people are mixing up here, right? One, the rules of this grammar that are written here, right? Notice this, right? And this is the reason why I use this example, because this is one of those examples that is very confusing, because you find the productions are having terminals and non-terminals together in the same production. So actually that is where the confusion is coming in, because you see for C, there are two productions. One of the productions has a terminal which is C, okay, a small c and a capital C. Right? So that's the reason when we are talking about the first for this C, right? We are just looking at the terminal, the first one. When you do the derivation process, what is the first item that appears, the first symbol? It's a small c. That's the reason why it's the first. Okay? But also, okay, there is another production that has epsilon. That's why there is an epsilon. Okay? For B as well, it follows the same trend. Okay? So you see there are two productions here. Okay? But these two productions, in the first production, which is a small a and a capital B, the first for this one is a small a, which is already a terminal. So we don't need to do any other derivation together. So that's the reason why we have A. And in the second production, it's an epsilon. Okay? But then when we come to S, this is where the trick is, and where I think people are having an issue, right? For you to get the first for S, there are two productions involved. There's this production that has B, and there's another one that has C and small d. So when you get in S, the first of S, you'll have to first consider this first production. So what is the first for this first production? The first for this is whatever is going to be derived by this non-terminal called B. And non-terminal B is derived in A. And that's the reason why we have A. Okay? So we are already done with that production because we don't have to consider this other B because its first is already considered. It's this one. We don't have to consider this one again. Okay? Then we were able to finalize that. Now the second production has epsilon, and when you have epsilon here, right, what that does is it cancels out this entire B, this non-terminal B, and that's why you are left with another now, which is not a non-terminal but a terminal itself. That's the reason why we put B, because now in this case the first for S is this one here, this B, because this B small capital B has already been cancelled out. That's why we have the small b. Okay? Then when you're done with that, you go to the second production for S. The second production of S has a capital C, which is a variable, a non-terminal, and it also has a terminal at the end. So for that, for you to get the first for the second production, you have to get the derivation for this capital C. Now capital C, what is the first of it? It's a small c. That's the reason why we have small c here, and that's the reason why we put this c here. Okay. However, this C as well has two productions. It has one that is starting with a C and another one that is an epsilon. When it's an epsilon, it cancels out this C, and we are left with a terminal called small d, and that's the reason why we put D there. So what people are confusing is they are confusing the terminals and the non-terminals. Don't confuse those two. Take your time, just take your time. Even if we are going to have to come up for makeup and just stop there, I have no issue, right? Take your time and look at that again. Okay? Don't confuse between terminals and non-terminals. Also remember, we are doing this, we are getting these functions from these rules over here. These rules are not predefined. They are rules that have only been defined by this grammar alone. Okay? So whenever you're asked to come up with the first and the follow, you'll always be given a grammar, okay? Because the grammar is not always the same. I hope you're not getting lost. Good. Anthony has gotten it. Very good.
Excuse me, sir.
I see someone has activated their mic and they are talking in a low tone. Are you okay?
Sorry, yeah, it's
Yes.
me. I'm
Oh,
asking,
yes.
so what if, let's assume we changed the nini for S to small b and then capital B and then to small d and capital C.
Let me do that. So S is becomes now. Come again, you disappear before you finalize. I wanted to write it down.
It becomes small b and capital B, and then the second one is small d and capital C, but the B and the C remain the way they are. How would you do the first one?
Where they are. Good. So now we are looking at the first for S. So the first for S in this case, using the first production, will just be B. Okay? And that one is done. We don't have to go to the next one. Okay? But then there's another production that now starts with C now. Sorry, with a small d. So it will just become D. So in this case, the first in this case will only be a small b and a small d. The reason why we are having this subsequence, like recursive definitions, is because of these definitions that are down here for the non-terminal. Okay? Now that points us to one thing, right? Remember those previous concepts that we were learning about terminals and non-terminals when you were learning about the past trees? Okay? Chances are, probably we assumed them and we thought they are easy. This is the reason why you'll see down that we needed to read a bit there based on the small introduction I gave, because there's a difference between the variables. The variables are these non-terminal, the capitals, and the small letters are the terminals. The terminals means it appears at the end of this tree. It's at the leaves. Okay? So if you are deriving that, the final thing that appears here is usually small letters. Those are the ones that I'm calling terminals. Don't confuse. Good. Let me do the follow before we go for a break, because I think we deserve a break. What is the follow for S? In this case, we said it's always a dollar sign, so we're going to leave it there. Okay. Then, what is the follow for B? The follow for B is the B. What is following it? It's just a small b. So in this case, the follow was very easy. Now you see, we don't have to go again and start defining other things, because this B, it's already a terminal, so there's nothing else that it talks about like epsilon and all that. Okay? Like that. Good. Then what is the follow of C? The follow of C is here. C is here. The follow of it is already a terminal. Perfect.
Is exactly how I made.
Yeah, we go. Now, as luck would have it, we don't have to ask about the follow of B. So in that case, we don't need a dollar sign later on up here at the end. Now, I know there are several questions that are going to pop up right now. Why don't we have a dollar sign here? I want someone to answer that question, and then we'll come back after the break. Why don't we have a dollar sign here? Another one that people are going to ask is, why do we only have B here? We don't have something else. Those are some of the questions. And the answers to those questions is, right?
Because you're married to Karens. How is it like?
Answers to those questions is, fortunately for us, this grammar, the follows are defined by terminals. They are not non-terminals. Okay? They are terminals. Yes, perfect. Julie has already found the answer. Okay, so B is a terminal, so we don't have to consider anything else. Okay, we don't have to cancel it in case of an epsilon. We don't have to do that.
She's
Okay?
knocked off thousands purely
That is
due
very
to how
important.
unpleasant she is and how much people want her to just get the hell out of the door. Weaponize the Karen. Nice.
Okay, if you have an issue with power, okay, here we are. Okay. I want to give us a break, a 10-minute break, and then I'll come back and do one of the grammars that we've seen quite often, the one that we've been looking at about expressions, giving a terminal, giving a term, and then a term giving a factor, that. I want us to look at that one, and then use that one to come up with a passing table, and then we'll call it a day. Okay? So take your time, just take your time, look at everything, and then after 10 minutes, we'll come back. Okay? If we do that one for the third grammar and we do the first and follow, if you feel things are too much, we can take a break. Not a matter of life and death, right? Good. So 10 minutes, you can come back at 10:43 and continue the discussion.
Good informational piece on a par 3 with the forced carry, where we can sort of explain to you guys the downside of a T, the upside of a T, and who might benefit from that. I think a lot of people are familiar with watching pro tournaments. You pretty much always see most of the PGA Tour players get a little bit of a T, broken T or something, pop that in there. There is a big difference between what they do and what a lot of people you play with do. I see a lot of people with a T that far to the ground with an iron.
Good. Edmond, that is very good. Okay. So Edmond, I think also the same also applies to Moses. Okay. So people are asking why in some cases, why is it only B alone? It's only B here because if you look at the follow of this variable, it's a terminal. It's a terminal. So we don't need to consider another production for B because it's already a terminal. That's the reason why it's only a single one. The same applies for C. Right? The same applies to C. The follow for C, which is here, this C here, it's only D, which is a terminal. So we don't have to start considering other items. It's only that, and we'll leave it there. Okay. Leave it there. I want us to do another grammar, another final grammar here. I think I'm going to delete everything. But I can give you a minute. If you need to take a screenshot of this, take a screenshot in a few seconds. And then you can minimize it. It will probably help you as we are continuing with the other grammar. I want us to do the grammar that we've seen a lot during this course when we were dealing with syntax analysis, the one that defines an expression as a term in another expression, something like that. Perfect. Also, Moses has been able to see where he was going wrong. Okay. So I'm hoping by now you've taken a screenshot and minimized it. It may help. It may help as we are doing the final grammar, as we are trying to get the first and follow for this final grammar. And then I'm hoping you're going to do as many examples as you can. So as you can see, I've tried to pick different grammars having different rules, okay? Combining them, but I cannot cover everything. You'll have to go and look for others. The more you practice, the better you become at doing this. Good, I think that's enough. Okay? So I want to define another grammar here. I think I'm going to go straight into it. I hope my network is not going to disappoint me. Although I'm going to write a lot of things. And in case it fails, I'll have lost a lot. Let me hope it doesn't do that. Okay. Then we can do that and then
Open championship contender Ian Woosnam learned that his caddy had put one club too many in his
the notes you can just be following. You just write whatever is there. I'm going to use that. So I'm going to define, let me even use check. I'm going to define E, and then I'm going to give this one to have T and a small e, then that way. Good. That way, and then I'm going to have E that way, being given by a terminal, in this case a terminal is plus, and then T, and then E, and then epsilon. And And then I'm going to have the next one being a capital T, being given by F and T prime. And then I'm going to go to T prime. I'm going to define T prime as terminal F in another recursive definition there, and epsilon. Then finally, I'm going to define what a factor is, and so factor in this case will become a terminal ID slash open braces, expression again, and closed braces. Get it. So several things before we start getting the first temple here. Okay, let me ask this. Okay, I'm actually going to do this one together with you. I'm not going to ask you to do anything for the sake of time and also to avoid the confusion. So one thing you need to see here is that the capitals are non-terminals. Okay? Non-terminals means they are variable, right? They are variable. So E, capital E, T, E prime, those ones are variables. However, asterisk, like this one, the multiplication sign, that is a terminal because it's an operator. Also ID, that's a terminal. Also the calibration, additions are also terminals. Okay, those are terminals. So this one terminal, this is another terminal. Okay, so in this case, in the final here, for instance, I have ID. There's another production that has this expression and then that. Okay, so in this case, this is one non-terminal ID. Terminal. This is a terminal. ID is a terminal. Then that's a production. That is illustrated production. So this first calibration, the first one is another terminal. Then the expression is a non-terminal, and then here we have another terminal. Okay, so that is very important before we begin. Good. So in this case, you can begin anywhere. Let's start at the bottom. It always makes it easier. What is the first of F in this case? What is the first of F? What is the first of F based on what I've given you? Remember, first is that terminal that appears in any of those, in any of these production rules, right? Or when you do the derivation of the terminal. So in this case, the first of F is what? The first. I hope you're seeing this. I need to draw a line. There are two of them, by the way. Just to let me just assist you. Let me just draw this first. I don't want to get to
this guy. I'll keep fighting him. Fedora's, dude, this name.
That's right.
This is real life. Okay. Fedora's roll harder than you.
Good. So the terminal here is ID and the first calibration. Okay, so it's ID. Okay, and this first calibration. The one alone that way. Okay, so that's the reason why you need the first brace. Okay? Opening brace, not calibration. The first opening brace. This one first. Because I already said it's terminal. Good. Then what is the first of T prime? T prime over here. What is the first here? Okay, so I hope you can see I already defined those terminals. So in this case, to do that, so it's that one. Okay, and what? And there's an epsilon also at the end. Good. Okay, then we go to the next one. What is the first of T? What is the first of T? The first of T is the first of F. What is the first of F? The first of F is down here. So what that means is whatever is the first of this one will be replicated up here. So even this one, I'll repeat, don't worry, I'll repeat again. So the first of T, okay, in this case is also ID and also the opening brace. Good. Then what is the first of E prime? The first of E prime. If you are following, you can participate. If you assist, you also. It's the first of this first production. The first of this production is already a terminal, which is a plus symbol, plus operator. Okay. As well as there is this other production which has an epsilon. So also that one is also a first for it. Good. Then what is the first of E? The first of E. It's the first of T. What is the first of T? It's the first of F. What is the first of F? The first of F is down here. So this one also be replicated up here again. We have ID as well as the opening brace. Are we okay or we repeat?
I wonder if that's so safe.
We repeat or we are feeling confident by that?
I have a big meter advantage.
Please repeat.
I'm going to have to convert it.
Okay, no problem. Okay, just a minute to digest that information, then we repeat.
It's really block heavy.
Okay. So just I gave this it's like a disclaimer ahead, okay, to just highlight which are the terminals and non-terminals, right? So one thing that may confuse us is I highlighted that the operators, you see these operators are also terminals, because if you look at the derivation process at the past tree, I don't know how many of us have been doing it, right? At the terminal, on top of having things like ID, you'll always find things like plus, and also the braces. You'll always find even the braces at the terminal, at the end. So that's the reason why I say this is one terminal, this is another terminal, this is another one terminal in between them. Okay? So I think that helps there so that you don't get lost while we have this. This is not a C, okay? It's this opening brace over here. Okay? So again, I repeat. So what is the first of F? In this case, if you remember, before this was called a factor. So what is the first of a factor? It was this ID for the first production. Okay? And then for the second production, it starts with this brace, the first opening brace, right? This first bracket, opening bracket. That is what I have. Let me use the word bracket, probably more common. So opening bracket.
Ended up being good for him though.
Then what is the first of T prime? The first of T prime, okay, is this first operator, which is the asterisk multiplication sign, and also there is another production that has an epsilon. So that's the reason why we have an epsilon there. Then we go to the next one. What is the first of T? Now this one of T prime, this one is T alone. T alone. What is the first of T? What is the first of T? We asked ourselves that question. Right? The first of T is the first of F.
I mean, it was the end of a long combo.
But the F is also not a terminal, it's a non-terminal. So we need to go to where it's being derived to get a terminal. So we go to F.
I think he ended up getting more
has
damage, or at least
these terminals over here. So that's the reason why we are replicating this first here also up here, because the first of T is also same as the first. So that's why you find this one and this one have a common answer. But it doesn't mean it's always that way. That is something that I need to emphasize. You have to follow the rules of that grammar.
I sure got told.
The first of E prime. What is the first of E prime? Okay. So in this case, E prime has two production. The one that starts with a operator plus, and then the other one that has epsilon. So in this case, you'll only have two. So if you have this one, a terminal plus, and the one that has epsilon. Then finally, what is the first of E? In this case, this is an expression. If you remember that grammar we've been looking at, an expression. So the first of E is also the first of T, because this is the first item that is appearing here. It's a non-terminal. So we need to go to find where T, the non-terminal T, the variable T, is derived. We go here and we find that T is also not derived to a terminal. It's leading up to another non-terminal, which is F. So we need to go to F again, and we find that. Okay? Essentially, what you are seeing is that this thing is recursively going down. E, then goes to T, and then after T, it goes to F, and then F finally is the one that is giving us ID. And so that's the reason why you find that this one is similar to this one and is similar to this one. I'll give you a minute to just digest that information before we go to follow.
Steve, the consensus is still open. Very fresh character. Not many people know how he does against anybody.
Okay. Okay, up to that.
Oh yeah.
So let's go to the follow. We can even start here. There's no problem. Okay. So the follow of E. What did we say that the follow of the start symbol is? It's always a dollar sign. However, there is something that you'll notice. This is the reason why I'm using different grammars. You'll notice that E, okay, the starting symbol is also defined within the grammar itself later on. Okay? So that's the reason why, even though E over here, okay, is leading up to the entire thing, right? You find that it's also defined within the rules again. So you'll also have to consider the follow for this E, because these E's are the same. So the follow for this E is what? It's another terminal, which is the closing brace, the closing brackets. Okay. So I've introduced this grammar so that you can notice, so that you can check and maybe give you a different option and see that it's not always that the start symbol will only be followed by a dollar sign. There are instances where you'll find that the start symbol is also within the other definitions of the other rules. So because of that, you'll also have to consider even that one. Okay? So these are different options that I've given. I'm hoping I'll find a grammar where you will see the last one over here is getting the follow of the left-hand side. I remember I said that exemption. I'll try and see if I can find a grammar that has that. Anyway, back to this. So the follow for E, in this case, this is a starting symbol. It's always a dollar sign, but then we find that this E again is also defined down here. So you cannot assume this E here. Okay? So the follow of it is this terminal, this terminal. I said this is another terminal. So it's the closing brace. I close that. Let me use what I'm doing with that, and then I can put a sum there to show you calibration there. Good. What is the follow of E prime? Anybody? What is the follow of E prime? E prime is up here. What is the follow of E prime? it's also here as well. It's also defined again. Okay? So it's at the end. If you have to consider this being an input buffer, right? E prime appears at the end. Okay? So it's at the end, and what appears at the end is the dollar sign. That's the reason why we also have a dollar sign in this one, because it's at the end. So also even this one, the follow for this is also a dollar sign. However, we also have something else. What is the other thing? I want to see how many have been following. People have been a bit silent. What do you think the other one is? What do you think the other one is?
Epsilon.
What do you think the other one is?
I think it's epsilon.
Can we have a follow which is epsilon? We say that you cannot have a follow which is epsilon. But I understand because you're considering these other production here. No. Okay. I want to write something and tell me whether it will make sense. Okay. So the follow of this epsilon E prime. Why are people finding plus? Can someone explain to me? Because several people have come up with plus. Just tell me. Maybe that one will help us before I go to the answer. Anyway, just to avoid. Anyway, so we have. Let me go there. So we have E. I'm going to use first. So this is where it is. E prime, right? So in the first place, we chose a dollar sign because it's coming at the end, right? But then there's a production that says epsilon. So when you have epsilon, okay, what does that mean? It's empty, and you cannot put empty there. So what did we say? Okay, should be the follow of the end, right? Okay, if we already considered the dollar sign, this is where that exemption that I was talking about will appear, right? Because we've already considered a dollar sign, the follow for E will be the follow of whatever is on the left-hand side. Whatever is on the left-hand side. And what is on the left-hand side is E. So the follow of E is what? What was the follow of E? The follow of E was dollar sign and the closing brace. Okay? Now here we've already considered the follow, the dollar sign, so we don't have to write it again. Okay, it's redundant. We don't have to write again there and then write the closing brace. Okay? So we can just write the one, then that. I'll repeat that because I know that one will confuse us a little bit. Okay? Okay? So we are asking, what is the follow of E prime? E prime. E prime. Okay, we come here and we find it's at the end. It's at the end. And whatever appears at the end, right? One way of looking at it is the dollar sign. Another way also to look at it is because if it's at the end, right, it will also be the follow of whatever is on the left-hand side. That's one way of also looking at it, so that whatever is up here can be the same as whatever is down here. But the better way to look at it, and easier way to look at it, is E prime is at the end. Because it's at the end, right, whatever appears after in the input buffer, whatever appears at the end of E prime is the dollar sign. That's why we have the dollar sign. But then E prime also has the production. It has one that has this and an epsilon. So because of the epsilon, this cancels the first E prime that follows there. And so we have to consider whatever is on the left. And that's the reason why we also consider the calibration. Because good. Then what is the follow of T? What is the follow of T? What is the follow of T? I like to hear. What is the follow of T?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you please repeat the exception that you had stated earlier?
Okay. So the exception that I said is, right? So let's say we have a grammar like this. Okay. And what I was saying is, right? Whenever you have a grammar like defined as, I hope you can see this, right? So when you come to this final variable here, right, you'll want to look for its follow. Now I know common trend will be, because it's at the end and you're considering it being at the input, and based on an input buffer it will be a dollar sign. What I was saying is, it's not always necessarily a dollar sign. So yes, you can consider the dollar sign and say that is one option, but also you have to consider an instance where, right, the follow of whatever is here will be the follow of whatever is on the left-hand side. And the reason for this is what I was saying. During the derivation process, you may find an instance where you'll have to replace this final variable, okay, this final variable with an element that is on the left. Okay, so that's the reason why we were saying that the follow of this final variable, okay, in some instance, will be the follow of whatever is on the left hand side. Okay, and that is what we considered in this case. Okay, good. But anyway, I'll repeat that. Whoever you are, I didn't get your student ID, so I haven't been given a point, but I'll give you a point. So what is the follow of t? And I want someone to confirm what the follow of t is. And I want to give you the time. You can open your mic and say something. What is the follow of t?
Hi.
Yes.
Okay, in this case, I guess the follow of t will be the e bar, but in this case, you can't write the e bar. Therefore, we'll go for the production of e bar, which is the first, which is a or epsilon.
Come again.
Okay, the follow of like what is following t in this the equation, the first equation is
yes,
e prime,
e
right?
Prime. Okay. Yes.
And then we can't write e prime because e prime is a variable. It's not a terminal. So you have to find the terminal of e prime, of which the terminal of e prime is a or epsilon.
Yes, it's not a, it is a plus symbol, right? The operator.
Sorry, plus or epsilon.
Yes, that's where I was getting at, okay? So we have that and epsilon, right? But we can't write epsilon at the end. So if it's epsilon, what does that mean? It cancels this here. It cancels this. I hope you can see that. It's e, and then this one is giving us t, and e prime, right? E prime. So e prime cannot be a terminal, right? It's not a terminal, it's a non-terminal. So we have to go and see what its first is. Its first is plus, and coincidentally, an epsilon. So for the first one, we are going to consider plus, but then when it's epsilon, a follow cannot be an epsilon. I think I already said that at the start. So because it's epsilon, what that means is we cancel this one. It's an empty string. It's an empty string. So the follow of t now will apply that exemption rule, will be the follow of e. And what is the follow of e? The follow of e is $sign and the closing brace. I know, right now I know people are heated, they don't understand, they are lost. Take your time. I don't mind repeating over and over again. There's a person who asked the exemption. Kindly activate your mic so that I can give you some points. People deserve points for saying something. Okay, I see it. It's okay. Okay. Let me continue. I'll repeat everything. So what is the follow of t prime? What is the follow of t prime? What is the follow of t prime? I would like to hear. What do you think is the follow of t prime? And take your time. Okay. Let me give you a hint. So t prime is defined up here. So t prime is defined as t, giving us f of t prime. So it's already at the end. It's already at the end. And what we said is if it's at the end, okay, I know you can consider the $sign, that is one, but also you have to consider that it could be the follow of the left-hand side. Okay? So consider the follow of the left-hand side, and the left-hand side is t. So what was the follow of t? So you'll have to consider all those again. Okay? So what that means is the follow of t prime will be the same as the follow of t. It will be t, $sign, and closing brace. I hope you've seen that. Perfect. I see so many. I see like 6, 7 people have written something. It means at least it's making sense. Okay. So we are looking for the follow of t prime, and t prime is defined up here. Okay. In this roll up here, this grammar up here. All right. So t is at the end. It happens to be at the end. So yes, I know there will be a $sign like you're considering, no problem. But then remember, like I said, right? T prime could also be a follow of whatever is on the left hand side. So we also have to consider that. So the follow of t. So that's the reason why we've considered them. So you see, there's a $, so everything is considered there. Then finally, what is the follow of f? Follow of f. Now this one will have more follows than any of those up there. Okay. So f is up here. So it's following t prime. So what is the first of t prime? So it has to be those ones. Okay. Okay, and then notice that T prime also has an epsilon. So if it has an epsilon, T prime will be cancelled. And what will you have to? You'll have to consider the follow of T prime. So both B's and B's will appear down here. Okay, I'll repeat everything, don't worry. So in that case, your follow here will be, because in this case F, we are considering this, is reading up to asterisk, F, and then T prime. I don't even have to continue beyond that because F is here. So I want to see the follow, which is this one. So first of T prime will be the follow of F. So what is the first of T prime? The first of T prime is asterisk, right? And then there's an epsilon, but we can't have an epsilon at follow. So what does that mean? That means this T prime will be cancelled because it's an empty string. So what that means is the follow of F would also have to be the follow of T prime. Yes. What is the follow of T prime? The follow of T prime are these three: plus, $, closing brace. And we are done. Take your time. I'll repeat everything. I want to give you 2 whole minutes. Just look at that table, and then let's talk about it. Yes, Julie, I don't know whether you've raised your hand or it was from before.
Yes, I have. So I'm kind of lost at this point where you say that when you're considering F, the follow of F is actually T prime, but I don't get the point why you're considering the first of T prime.
Okay, what I'm saying is, okay, this one will have to take us back to the basics, okay? So remember what you were saying. Let's say we have a grammar. I'll have to delete some things here. Okay. So the reason why I've reduced that is we said, for instance, consider this grammar that has S giving us A, B, C, D. Okay. What I said is, let's choose this B, variable B, and we want to get the follow of B. The follow of B will be the first terminal that follows it, the first terminal that follows it. And the first terminal that follows B will actually be the first of this other variable here.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the reason why I say, so the follow of F will actually be the first of T prime. I'm just using that conclusion to use the same thing here.
Yeah, it makes sense. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. Yes, Papa. I don't think you've spoken today. Have you?
Yes, I have.
Okay, say something.
Okay, so the question is, what if F had like 2, let's say, definitions? So like for this one, we have F then T prime. What if there's an F and T prime, and in another definition to those F and T? So which one will you first pick?
Lost. Okay, so which one has 2 production, F or T prime?
See, F, we have at T prime, we have F T prime. See, where is T prime? Then at T we have
we
F.
have this, right?
Yes.
Let me just flow with the thought, right? You have this, right? That's okay.
Yes. And at T we have F T prime as well.
Or you're saying that F also would have a T prime?
No, I see at T we also have F and T prime. So if we had to do the follow of F, we already have a definite one, because both cases the follow of T will be the first of T prime, right?
I think I'm lost. Is there anybody who is getting? Let me just. Okay. Just start again, Papa. Sorry for that.
Okay.
So you're asking here. I see F follows T prime and T prime here, right? Oh, okay. I get now the question. Okay. I get the question. So what if in this case this one was not a T prime, it was T?
Exactly.
Okay. Good question. Now the good thing about the definition of languages, Papa, is right. Such a coincidence will not happen, because if you do that, right? Remember what I don't know that I haven't seen Isaac today, but what will happen in that case is you'll have an issue with semantic analysis, because you'll have 2 different meaning of something. Right? Remember, the reason why we designed this language to be the way it is this way, right, is because we are using that recursive definition, so that we can have some form of predictive parsing to happen. Okay, so we can't have that difference here where one is a T and the other one is not a T prime, because by having that, right, you'll have that element of that's when we use the follow. Anyway, so we go to the next production. So E prime. So for E prime, these two productions will have to lie within the row that has E prime. E prime. I hope we are together. Say something, we are together. So E prime. What is the first of E prime? What is the first of this production here? Okay. The first of these one are 2. So there is plus and there is epsilon. Okay. So this first production here, okay, will be in the first of this, which is the T. So where is the T? Here is it, T. Okay. So here I'm going to have that first production, which is E, giving us epsilon. You can see that we don't have an epsilon. Where there is an epsilon, right, we'll have to consider the follow of that production, right? So the follow, which is epsilon. So in this case, I think I'll have to maximize. So we have dollar and closing braces. So where there is dollar, it is, I'm going to put E, giving us epsilon, which is the second production. This one, you realize the production, and there is also closing braces. So also here, I'm also going to put that E, leading us to that. Okay. Then the third one now, T giving us F T prime. So where do I put this one? I put at the first of this. So what is the first of this? Is that ID, right? And the opening brace. ID and opening brace. So where T is, I'll put at ID. So I'll put T giving us F T prime. And also, there is also where there is the closing brace. So sorry, the first brace, right? T giving us F T prime. Okay, so there is no epsilon, so I don't have to consider the follows. Then I go to this one, T prime. So I'll come to T prime. So everything that is going to be in this production will apply in this row. So there is the first production which says T prime is given by asterisk F T prime. So for this one, it's going to be at the first of this production, of this row over here. The first here is given by asterisk and epsilon. So that tells you this first production alone will appear at the asterisk. The asterisk is, I'm going to put T prime giving me that F T prime. That's it. But then there's an epsilon, which is also defined here. So this epsilon, okay, activates the presence of the follow. So wherever there's a follow, you put the next production, which is T prime, giving you an epsilon. So go to everywhere where there's a plus here. So where there's a plus, I'm going to have to put T prime, giving us epsilon. Then the other one is dollar sign. So there's dollar sign, I'm going to put T prime, giving us epsilon. Then which other? The closing brace here. So T prime giving us epsilon. That's it. And then finally, I have two productions here. The first one is F giving us ID. So in that case, they are going to appear on this one. Okay. And also, if you look at the opening brace here, even though it's the first, right, it also appears here. So that means it's the first production. The first production will go at ID, F, leading us to ID. And the second production, which also starts with an opening brace, is also here, right? Because they are matching, we're also going to put it here and giving us the second production. Second production is here. Then you close the brace. Make sense? The one that may confuse you a bit is it's separated them based on the production and the first that appears. Okay.
Excuse me, sir. On the second row,
yes,
you used E's instead of E primes, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, it was E prime. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. So this should be E prime. Yes. Perfect. I don't know how many saw that. Yes. What that would have happened is you would have taken the first production and placed it on the first of these one on ID, and then this second production you would have placed it on the second brace. So that's the reason why we have to look, we are getting that on the final. Anyway, that is not the case in this case, but I'm just saying if that was the case, that was proof. Then for the second, where we have E prime, right, we are going to go to the row that has E prime. Then the columns are going to be determined by this first. So for the first one, we are considering this plus T E prime, and that's the reason why we put it at plus. But then for the second one, which also has epsilon, 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 right? Because we don't have epsilon here, what we do is that we activate the follow. So we are going to place the second production, which is A giving us epsilon, to the follow of that. And that's the reason why we place it on the dollar sign and the closing brace. Okay? Then for the third one, T giving us to F T prime, right? We have to consider that there are two first ID and the opening brace. So because it's only one production, we put it on both items. So that's the reason why we put it at ID and also at the opening brace. Then for T prime, here there are two productions. What that should tell you is, right, multiple productions are going to be applied when you apply to that row. Okay? So when you go to T prime, is T prime. We're going to consider the first production, which has an asterisk. So we are going to go to where there is an asterisk, and that's where we are going to place it. Okay. Also you notice there's an epsilon. Now the epsilon does not appear here, so because of that we activate the follow. So everywhere there is a follow, we are going to place the second production, which has T prime giving us epsilon. That's the reason why it appears there, and there. Then finally here we have two production, F giving us ID, E, right, with the braces, and the first are two of them. So each production will take one of the first. So for the first one, which are coinciding with ID, that production will align with the one that has ID, the first of ID, and the second production, which starts with early brace, sorry, with an opening brace, an opening bracket, will be aligned where there is opening bracket. Let me minimize so that I can see whether there are questions, feedback. I see hands. Yes, Brian.
Okay, so I have two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, what's the point of the second table? Like, what's its application?
Okay. The second one?
The second one, I think this just went over my head. Like, under what circumstances, when we're defining the follow, under what circumstances do we decide to put the dollar sign? Like, for example, the first row of the table. But follow that.
Yes.
The dollar sign to define.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. So for the second question, yes, like you said, maybe probably there's somewhere a concept passed and you didn't get it. But for the first one, anyway, so using this table, okay, that's how the LL1 parser is kind of passing. But then the main concept that you need to get in this case is coming up with this table. Because using this table, right, how the parser is able to know the order of using this first, so you require the parsing table. Okay, but then that's another concept. So I'm thinking if I introduce that even now, there will be too much concepts learned in one class, and I don't think it's fair. Okay, but then if I think that was Brian, right? If you are curious enough, right? After this class, you can just check how do I apply the passing table to come up with the pass rate. It's a very simple thing to do, and then and so you just keep on the dollar sign. So using LL1 parser, be able to know which input is being given, okay, and maybe when it's coming to an end. When it's coming to an end, when a certain input has come to an end. For instance, if I have, you can see all of them final thing, right? It's the final symbol. So what helps us to know that this is the final symbol? What helps the computer to know that that's the final symbol is the appearance of a dollar sign. So the dollar sign is just like an identifier, like a marker to highlight that that string has come to an end, or that input has come to an end. That's the reason why at the end of every grammar, starting at E being given by T and then E prime. These others are just defining these other terms, okay, recursively down there. So at the end here, there will be a dollar sign. That's the reason why we are saying that at the start symbol, because the start symbol defines all the variables, at the end, there will always be a dollar sign. But then we're also saying, right, that in some instances, which we don't know, in some certain grammars, right, you'll find that at the end, here at the end, right, because of how maybe that grammar is defined, because it's recursively defined, you'll find that maybe whatever is on the right will have to borrow whatever is on the left. That's the reason why we cannot assume, okay, that will not happen. Okay? Another reason why in this case you're finding that even after highlighting the dollar sign, you have to consider the follow of the left-hand side. Okay, something like that. But now in this case, the reason why we have these braces is because of this E down here. Okay, remember that the start symbol, okay, can also be defined again within the grammar itself. Okay, so I hope that is okay up to there. So I don't know whether I've answered your questions, Brian, but I think I have. Okay. Let's do this. Well, because of another class. Everyone, make sure that you go and revise what you've done right now in terms of getting those first and follows, okay, and coming up with a passing table. I'll even forgive you if you don't understand the item that I'll mention next time. Okay? As a matter of fact, I may even decide to skip it altogether. Because the thing that I need to emphasize right now is to understand how our parser works. And the parser works, the main thing that it needs to come up with is a passing table. Okay? And if you find me emphasizing something, know that there is something that is going to be applied somewhere. Okay? So go and remember how to get the first, look for many grammars as you can, get their first and follow, and then after that, try and come up with your table. Okay? I'll try and find more examples and then attach them on e-learning, and then you can follow from there. As well as today, I'm also not going to give you a lab. I think you have labs too. I found only 11 people have submitted, but then I think the deadline is on Friday. So yes, go and finalize and then submit. And make sure that you don't have any coursework that you haven't submitted. Okay? Make sure that you submit all the coursework, regardless of whatever happens. I know the situations are not ideal, but make sure you submit your coursework, okay? Because you never know what will happen to the exam. It may be very difficult, right? So make sure the coursework you covered it, and most importantly, sure you get good marks. Huh? Don't get low marks. Okay? Also, by the way, if you checked on AMS, right? Anybody who has checked, you'll find that I've highlighted that there'll be two CATs, the CAT1 and CAT2, right? So the reason why I split, I thought we'd only do one CAT because some people felt like they would have done better in CAT1, which is okay. And by doing better, I mean the majority of you got above 12, right? Others even got 14, but then they felt they could have gotten everything, okay? So CAT2 will be for you to maybe redeem yourself if you want all the marks. Now, CAT2 does not necessarily mean that you're going to do a CAT. I'm actually thinking that maybe just to top up on those marks. I think that would be okay. My goal is to show you that I don't aim to fail you in any of these courses. It's up to you. If you decide to fail, it's up to you, right? With that being said, that it's a lab, yes, the milestone for the lab. But then I'll make sure that I assign us like 2 or 3 labs before we are able to finalize the course. But for now, that's enough. So yes, the class is over. I'll be left behind for a minute for anybody who wants to ask a question.